This video will walk you through the rules options that are in Classwize. So in NetRef we had the allow and the block list. Rules function a little differently in Classwize. Also, just as a note, as of this recording, rules need to be set up for each class. They are working on a way that you can copy rules to each of your classes so that you don't have to set them up a number of times. But as of this recording, it's per class. So let's look at how rules work. Essentially, you have two options with rules. And if I click on rules here, I've got this option to create a rule. So let's create one and see how it looks. And what you can do here is search for either a specific site, you can type it in, or you can start typing in an actual type of site. So for instance, if I type in IXL, you can see that that is pulling up without the www and everything else. So they've already cataloged that site, and you can just put this in, and then what that will do is grab anything that's kind of related to that site as well, so you don't have to know all the ins and outs for what needs to be blocked. So let's say I want to do that. I want to do a whole class, and I'm going to go ahead and add this rule. And then now when my class is in session, if this is turned on, if the blocked is selected like this, then students can't get to that site. So let's see what that looks like on the student side. So I'm going to switch to a student screen here, and I'm going to try to go to IXL. And so you can see I'm getting that block message. This is a test student that doesn't actually have IXL, but if they did and it was on their Clever page, when they clicked on it, they would still get the same message that the content had been blocked. So that's what it looks like on the student side. You can see that's reflected here in this screen. If I come into the rules and I allow it, then that student should be able to get to that site. So let's go back to that student. And let's try to go to IXL again. And now you can see that it's working. Pretty quick, pretty responsive, and that's as simple as it is to create a rule. I can also block it directly from the student's screens. If I notice a site they shouldn't be going to, I can select that, then say create rule, and it will give me that web address, and I can add it as a blocked one. I can add just for that student if that student's having issues, or I can go back and select the whole class and add the rule, and it will populate. On this one, it's saying you've already got that rule, do you want to replace it? And I really don't need to, so that's okay. But if it was a different site, let's say I don't want them going to CNN, I could do create a rule, block that. I want to block it for the whole class, add that rule. And now when I go to the rules, you can see there's two of them now, CNN and IXL. So that's the simplest way to create rules, and you can continue to create and add. I don't know that there's a limitation, so you can have quite a few of them in here. You'll notice that there's an edit option next to them. So one of the things that you can do if you go into edit is change who it's applied to. You can also delete the rule here. You can change it to a blocked rule if you want, but you can also do that straight from the screen. So the easy way to toggle them on and off basically is to do that. Let's say that I want to, right now it's showing all users. Let's say I just want one user to be blocked there. I can come in and select that one user and update that. And now you'll see that it says that user can't get to it. So currently the only options you have is the whole class or one specific student. Typically though, we find that teachers want to do the whole class. So I'm going to update that. So let's add another rule and look at what happens here. Let's add YouTube. So I'm going to add YouTube as a blocked rule to the whole class. And this is kind of an interesting thing that we can do with Classwize that we couldn't do anything like this with NetRev. YouTube right now is not blocked for middle and high schools, but it is blocked for elementary schools. So if this was a high school student, then turning this on would mean the high school students cannot get to YouTube. For an elementary student, it's a little different. Elementary students are always blocked from YouTube, but if a teacher puts this link in and says allowed, now the students can get to YouTube. And that's a unique thing that we can do with Classwize. The way things are set up on the back end with this program is we have our filtering system that we categorize different groups and different sites. There are some that we've put in that students always need to be able to get to. And so if a site is in that group, it doesn't matter what you do, they're always going to be able to get to it. You won't be able to block it. But those are very few items, like authenticating with Google and maybe Clever, some of those kind of things. There's also a group we can set up where students never should get to them. Any sites that are deemed as pornographic, some of those sites that are really bad that they just never need to get to, we put those in a group that you can't override that. Other than that, you have some flexibility now. For instance, YouTube is blocked for elementary students, but we haven't put that in a group where you can't have control. So if you come in and say allowed, now students can get to this when before they couldn't. And it will only be allowed while your class is in session. As soon as your class is ended, it'll go back to them not having access. So that works really well when there are projects and things that need to be done where you need to do it in the classroom, but you don't want them to have that open access. Another good example would be like Facebook. If I was to add Facebook here and add it as an allowed site, now students can get to this where they normally couldn't get to this. So let's see how this would look on the student side of things. We're going to take this student here, and right now we have these different rules in place. Theoretically, they should be able to get to Facebook and YouTube now. So let's try that. This is an elementary student. Let's go to YouTube first. And now you can see they went right into YouTube. So that's been turned off, or turned on, I should say, by the teacher. Let's take that out just so we can see how that works. I'm going to take it all the way out so you can just see that, generally speaking, that is not allowed for elementary. So I've taken that out. It's not a rule in my group now. So if I go back to the student side and I try to refresh this page, now you can see that it's blocked. It's as easy as that for a teacher to bypass something of this nature during her class period if they have a need to do that for a certain amount of time or during their class. And again, they can limit that. So let's try Facebook and see how that works. So you can see the student went into Facebook. They could log in and they would have no issues with that. What a teacher can do is, if they are going to do this for, let's say, 20-30 minutes, they can allow that, and then when they're done, they can just come back and block it, and then the students don't have access again. And they can leave this in their rules. So if tomorrow they need to use it again, they can just allow it again. Let's go to Facebook again and try it. And now you can see it's blocked. A lot of control and flexibility for the teachers now that they can do in the classroom that they couldn't do in the past. You do have the option to delete all of your rules if you need to start over. Just be aware that the more rules you have, the more complicated it gets. So if you've got hundreds of rules, let's say, one rule may be affecting another site, and you're just not aware that somehow they're connected a little bit. So just be careful with trying to add everything into your rule list. Again, just to differentiate between this and netref, allowed list does not mean that's all they can get to. What it means is basically override things that they couldn't get to previously. I would not need to put allowed for IXL because they can always get to that. But if I don't want them getting to IXL for some reason, then I would turn on the block, and that would keep them from doing that. Now there is no way to take your list and copy it to different classes, but that's supposed to be in place by the time that school starts in the fall of 2024. If you tried to add a rule that we have locked on the back end, basically locked you from having any control, but you feel like it's been categorized that way, but it shouldn't be, that you're going to need access. When you try to add that, it'll give you a message that that's happened and that you'll need to contact your administrator or something like that. Just put in a help desk request, and we will look at that, and then most likely things get categorized automatically by this software, and they are things that we can move out and allow. So just let us know through a help desk, but again, you shouldn't have to ask for nearly as many sites being allowed because you have this control.